Come with me if you want to live.
Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
This is it. Don't get scared.
Hey buddy, up here. How are you guys doing? Welcome back to a brand new Flick Pick live show. This is it. Don't get scared now. And there's so much to talk about. It's been a few weeks due to the 4th of July holiday. I went on vacation. I drove 10 hours to a lake, and then I drove 10 hours back, and I saw Superman. And if you haven't seen Superman, no worries. We're not going to spoil anything, but there's a lot I want to say about the movie. And also keep in mind, I did put out my review today. I also put out a reaction video over on the Flick Pick channel, but I still have so much more to say. But what I wanted to do in this live show, before we dive into your glorious, magical, mystical questions, is I first wanted to cover some of your hot takes and some of your thoughts on the brand new Superman movie if you've seen it. So I asked everyone on X. I'm going to go through some of my YouTube comments on my review that I posted today, and I want to cover some of the Rotten Tomato reviews. And then, if you guys have anything to chime in, we'll cover those as well. Pretty much, this is going to be a Superman-themed live show until we dive into the questions. So buckle up. This is it. And let me grab a caffeinated beverage. Yeah, it's sort of been a very busy last couple of weeks. There was a lot of things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk more about Jurassic World Rebirth, but then again, who really cares about that abomination against humanity? And then I wanted to talk about the Project Hail Mary trailer that came out the day I was leaving for vacation, and I just didn't have time to do it. But maybe we'll get there at some point in this live show. So buckle up, and let's just dive into your questions here. And before we dive into the main topic, all about Superman, we did have a question here from Cody Gill. How's it going, Cody? And Cody says, John, I wanted to apologize about my comment on your Superman review. I love you, man, and I'm just defending the movie. I absolutely loved it because it finally gave me the Superman I've always wanted to see on the big screen. Well, Cody, you know what? You don't have to apologize to me. Not now, not ever, okay? Especially when it comes to movies and different opinions. That's your right, and I support it 100%. Even if you disagree with me, that's okay. Because keep in mind, at the end of the day, these are just products made by a corporation for the sake of making more profit. And sometimes they're entertaining, and sometimes they suck. But I do vividly remember your comment. And hey man, you don't have to apologize. But thank you for your comment. And Cody, thank you for the glorious super chat. You get a party popper. Are you ready for it? 3, 2, 1. Oh, there's nothing better than a party popper. All right. But thanks for the question, Cody. And I do remember your comment. And what Cody's referring to is he said he basically assumed I didn't like the movie. But the thing is, in the first half of my reviews, I give you the positives. In the second half, I give you the negatives. And then I give you my final grade. So suffice to say, I did give Superman a positive grade. I gave it, I don't want to spoil it. So go watch the review, but I liked the movie. But it is a very problematic and flawed movie. And as far as my quick thoughts on it go, and by quick thoughts, I'll probably talk for the next few minutes before we dive into some of the comments I want to read about the movie. But as far as this movie goes, going into it, watching the trailers for the last 6 months, it's more or less the movie I thought it was going to be. And the best comparison I can give you is it definitely feels like the Flash movie from 2023. It feels like it could exist in that same universe. It looks very similar. It's very digital. There's a lot of wide shots. There's a lot of flaky CGI at best. But there is some fun to be had. And I think the fundamentals of what would make a good Flash movie and what would make a good Superman movie exist in these movies. But it's very flawed. The plot's very messy. There's too many jokes that sort of take you out of the moment. Anytime that the movie's trying to be serious and give you an emotional gut punch, or an uppercut to the jaw, if you will, you sort of just, you get, doused with kryptonite before you can start really enjoying it. And those are some of my biggest problems with the movie. I think fundamentally, it's sort of like a live-action animated Superman it feels like the animated Superman series brought to live action. And when it's good, it's highly entertaining. But some of my biggest problems with the new Superman movie is there's not really anything that stood out ultimately to me to make me want to like think to myself, that's the best action scene I've ever seen, or, oh, I remember when Superman did that. I mean, yeah, he does all the Superman stuff, but it just feels like such a blur in a chaotic, zany movie at times. And hear me out for a second when I say this. I will say it's better than this, but it sort of reminds me of the modern day equivalent of Batman Forever. You get a Batman movie, and people like Batman Forever, and it's actually taken on a cult following over the years, and when it came out, people thought that was like a cool Batman movie. But for me, as a weird kid who grew up watching Batman 1989 and Batman Returns from 1992, I was more into the darker, grittier version of what Gotham and Batman could be. I grew up watching Catwoman take birds and shove them in her mouth and make sexual innuendos with Danny DeVito's The Penguin, who also made nothing but sexual innuendos. And when you're a 7-year-old kid and that's the kind of stuff you grow up on, well, that's the kind of stuff you come to expect. So when I got Batman Forever, I was like, this is kind of like a Batman movie, but it's not the tone that I want that makes me feel anything. And that's exactly how I feel about the new Superman movie. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I would rewatch it again on a rainy day because it is a mindless, carefree summer blockbuster movie that you can shove popcorn in your mouth when you watch it. Another way to describe it is it's sort of like really tasty baby food. Baby food's so easy to consume. You don't even need to chew it. You just consume it. And that's sort of what the new Superman movie is, Cummings. So I did see this at a fan screening at my local AMC. Now, I have been to many AMCs throughout my life, the course of my life, and especially my YouTube career. Some awesome AMC theaters, especially the one in Chicago. It's a really neat theater. But my local AMC theater is a big pile of shit. It's a dump. It has not been updated in 20 years. It's been bought and sold by multiple theater chains, and it's falling apart. And I don't ever go there unless I absolutely have to. And in this case, I had to, because it was the only place showing the fan screening of Superman. So I went there on Tuesday to watch this movie. And keep in mind, they don't have reclining chairs. And the day before I went there, they had just recently reopened because the theater was shut down for 2 weeks. Yeah, that's how much of a dump this place is. Now, they said it was because the AC was broken, and that very well could be the case. But I've heard from employees who work there, yeah, the AC was broken, but it also had a whole bunch of mold, and that's why they had to shut it down to clean it out. Also, I've heard that there were bed bugs in the theater. Because once again, keep in mind, they have old, shitty cloth seats. The seats in this theater are the same seats that were there when this opened in 2000. And they're all disheveled, and there's no cushion. There's like no padding. It's essentially like sitting on top of a pancake on top of a steel plate with a spike up your ass. That's what it's like sitting at this AMC theater. But with all that said, this is where I watched the Superman movie. So there's that. But as far as this new movie goes, there's a lot of things I liked about it, a lot of things I didn't like. I'll just leave it like this. It's sort of it's a flawed but entertaining time with a lot of flaws. And I liked David Cornsweet quite a bit as Superman and Clark Kent. And the thing is, and I just recently rewatched Man of Steel. We just watched it last night. My wife, I think, has seen it once but didn't remember anything about it. And for me, I think when it comes to this new Superman movie, what they're doing is they're sort of overcorrecting the mistakes that they feel like they made with Man of Steel. Now, for me, I love me some Man of Steel. I gave that an A-, and I still stand by that grade. And just rewatching it again last night, I remembered everything I liked about it so much. There's so much humanity. I think it's one of Zack Snyder's better movies. I would say it's in his top 2 or 3 movies of all time. And there's a lot of things that they get right with that film, especially the Hans Zimmer score. It's bombastic, it's awesome, and it makes you feel something when you watch it. And plus, people in Man of Steel feel like real characters. They don't feel like one-dimensional cartoon characters. even though I don't mind that at times, especially when it comes to Lex Luthor in the new Superman movie. But anyway, I feel like, for me, the best version of a Superman movie would be you have the new Superman movie, then you have Man of Steel. I feel like somewhere right in the middle is the perfect Superman movie. It's not a cartoon, but it's not as gloomy and completely dark, and it does lend itself to more rewatchability. So that would be my preference with a Superman movie. But keep in mind, with this new movie, this is essentially the launching pad for the upcoming DCU by James Gunn. So a lot hinges on this movie. And it's going well so far. It broke some records on opening night. It earned $22.5 million just from the preview screenings. So I think there's been some reports that have come out that say this movie basically needs to make $900 million to be considered successful. But when you factor in all the toys and the Happy Meals and the popcorn buckets, it's going to make enough money to justify its own existence. And people seem to like this movie. It does have an overall positive rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And the people that dislike it, it feels like when you read the comments on YouTube, it's almost like a 50-50. People either hate it or they absolutely love it. But when it comes to the actual Rotten Tomatoes scores and the audience scores, it's overly positive so far. So there's that. And I would give it a positive score, but just barely. I think it's very flawed, but I would recommend watching it because I think it is a fun comic book movie. Once again, that has a shit ton of flaws in it. But I'll leave it there for now, and let's just dive into your some of your comments and some of the overall thoughts on Rotten Tomatoes real quick here. So here it goes, and then we'll get into your questions. So if you have any questions about Superman or comments, get them in right now, and I will do my best to cover all of them. So on Rotten Tomatoes, as you can see right now, well, you can't see because I just lied to you. It has an 82% and has a 94% popcorn meter. But let's look at some of the tomato meter reviews. And let's just, because I'm a narcissistic jerkwad, let's start off with mine, Shelby. He's not a man, he's an it. He's a flick pick. So here's mine. Superman feels like an overcorrection from Man of Steel. It's polar opposite in almost every way. It's bright, bold, and filled with zany comedy that mostly works for a comic book movie. While it's undeniably messy and flawed, it's weirdly fun at times. And I gave it a positive. I did. And but a lot of other people gave it positives here. Let's read this one. Chris Joyce says Superman starts wobbly and choppy before gaining traction and confidently moving forward in the plot. The mix of heart and humor ultimately works, crafting a modern-minded metahuman who feels connected with the current culture. And I will say this about the new incarnation of Superman. I do like David Cornsweet's interpretation of Superman. And the thing is, I love me some Henry Cavill. And I think it's almost a crime against cinema that we never got a Man of Steel sequel, and I would love to have seen Henry Cavill come back as Superman. But in this interpretation, in this adaptation of Superman, I could not imagine Henry Cavill playing this version, as I could not imagine David Cornsweet playing the version in Man of Steel. Two totally different versions, but I do like this new take overall. And the thing I like about it is this new version of Superman, he's not as emotionally matured as you would assume he should be. And I kind of like that. It's sort of relatable. I get it. As a dude in his 30s, my brain didn't fully develop until I was like 34 years old. Until then, it was mushed up bubble gum just floating around in my skull. So I get it. Also, he's sort of naive, and he has the morals of Superman. He wants to do good, and he knows what it means to be human by the end of the movie. But he has some flawed fundamentals, and there's just little things throughout the movie that really set this up. He gets very frustrated very quickly. When he goes into action, sure, he can do all the Superman shit. He has heat vision. He can punch kaijus in the face. And by the way, I know this is an adaptation from the Silver Age of Superman comics and some of the newer ones. But I don't want to see kaijus in my Superman movie. I just, something about that takes me out of it. It's like, that does not belong in this universe. It feels wrong to me. And plus, I did not like watching Superman fight the kaiju. I thought it was one of the more lackluster fight scenes in the entire movie. I'm like, clearly this giant kaiju is not winning this battle, so what am I doing here? Something about that just is not intriguing to me. But anyway, he punches kaijus in the face. But when it comes to this version of Superman, he is not a strategist. He has no clue what his next step's going to be. So that's where the Justice Gang comes into play, because they actually have strategies to save the day. Superman, he knows how to punch, but he doesn't know how to actually resolve a lot of the issues. And he makes a lot of mistakes. So I thought this version was very relatable, and there's definitely room to expand with this character. But he does sort of come across like an asshole at times too. But then again, I can kind of relate to that, so I don't hate it. Like, he's flawed. And I think that's a very interesting version of Superman. Because when it comes to Superman, I've always thought he was a bit overpowered, and that's because he was. Outside of Kryptonite, there wasn't much you could do to take down Superman, other than kidnap Lois Lane or something like that, which is what I would do. But in this film, he definitely is much more vulnerable than he's ever been. So little things like that I liked about it. Armand White says Gunn's objective is to banalize. What does banalize mean anyway? The very concept that Snyder sought to elevate. Who cares what he said? Okay. Adam Graham says Gunn has plenty on his mind, but the movie doesn't congeal into a satisfying whole, leaving a mixed bag of comic book storytelling and modern commentary that isn't insightful or entertaining enough to get off the ground. And I completely understand where he's coming from with that. I can almost agree with that to a certain degree, but I did find it entertaining. So those are a few Rotten Tomato reviews, and I wanted to read some of the X reviews, because I did put out a post a few hours before going live with you guys, and I said, hey, give me your hot takes. Let me know what you thought about Superman. And here's what some of you said. And we have Ricardo Franco, longtime friend and personal friend of the channel. So how's it going, Ricardo, if you're watching right now? He said, I loved the Superman movie in there. It's too bad it wrapped up in a mid-Guardians movie for some reason. Excited to see more of this soups, Lois and Luthor, though. Okay. While it was good, he obviously didn't have someone saying he's not. I don't know what that guy's saying. Basic Ninja says, saw it, hoped for the best. It was like looking at a broken leg. What? Disjointed story, horrible CGI, barely any Superman. Lex Luthor was the best part. I agree. Lex Luthor sort of stole the movie for me. And Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, for me, I think was the most enjoyable live action adaptation of Lex Luthor I've seen up on the big screen. Now, in my review, some people said, John, what about, I think it's Michael Rosenbaum or whatever from the Smallville TV series. I never watched it, but I said big screen. I didn't say your fucking TV set. I said big screen, okay? But hey, can we all agree, at least it's not Kevin Spacey anymore or Jesse Eisenberg popping Jolly Ranchers into people's mouths, okay? Because that was just unbecoming. But I like Nicholas Hoult. He was definitely a sociopath. He's a bit zany, but his master plan for a dude who's a genius was completely and fatally flawed. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. And also, when it comes to the new Superman movie, this is not a spoiler, but when people complain about this movie being kind of stupid, it kind of is at times, okay? It definitely is. This does not spoil anything, I assure you. There's a scene where Lex Luthor has trained monkeys to put out disinformation on social media. They're typing at keyboards and typing negative things about Superman. That's a thing that happens in this movie. So when people say it's bad, you kind of have to see where they're coming from with shit like that. And I get it. I do. But it works in this adaptation. It just works. It's stupid and bizarre, but it's weirdly entertaining. but I wouldn't say that's one of my favorite aspects of the movie. And by the way, don't you know you can just hire people in Russia to type up negative things on Twitter and dictate the conversation, or you can just use an algorithm like ChatGPT and you can implement that into X. It happens every day. But there is a social media aspect when it comes to Superman where Lex Luthor does want to cast a negative shadow on Superman. And the thing is, everyone in Metropolis, they have the mindsets of troglodytes. They're like children with IQs of 67. They just believe whatever someone tells them. It's like, you just saw Superman save the city and beat a monster, but now you're going to listen to Lex Luthor, this bald, creepy dude sitting over there in the corner who just does dubious shit all day long, who owns a corporation that's clearly up to no good, but because he said something bad, you believe him. And isn't that just the reality that we sort of live in? But I didn't like that. And I also don't like when they inject social media into movies. I hate it in reality. Do not put that into my movie where I want pure escapism. So that entire subplot I thought was kind of stupid. And plus there's this side piece that Lex Luthor is banging that takes a lot of selfies. That's a complete subplot of her own. So once again, when I say there's like some stupid stuff in this movie, that's the kind of stupid stuff I'm talking about. But there's also a lot of fun. So like I said, it's a very mixed bag movie. All right, so let's read some of the other comments here. Jack Dixon says, I missed your live streams. I'm glad you had a great vacation from being on the internet last week. But oddly enough, I kind of missed you guys. I'm not going to lie to you. I always miss you. AB says, meh. Worth the ticket price, but will be forgotten in a week. And that's the truth about this movie. It kind of doesn't really have any impact on me. It doesn't feel like a generational blockbuster movie at all. It sort of just, it feels like an entertaining popcorn movie that you are going to forget about in a couple of weeks. And that's the thing about it. Now, I will say Superman's such an iconic character that will carry over for a while, but the movie itself, I don't feel like anyone's actually going to remember the plot of it. Because the plot doesn't really matter. Ultimately, by the end of this movie, nothing really matters. Pokemon says, it was great, but not great. For me, there's so many nitpicks, and also the film felt short to my taste. So weird that such great character moments are spliced between Superman getting cyberbullied by monkeys and Jimmy Olsen's sex messaging solving an issue instead of Lois journalism. Felt like the first draft to what could have been peak. Instead, it's just really good. Yeah, I agree. It definitely feels like some weak writing from James Gunn. All right. Loved it. It was fun in the silver age of comics. Best Superman movie yet. Ooh, that's quite the claim. But I can understand where everyone's coming from. And then here's my review I put out a few hours ago, and I think you should go watch it because there's a lot I say in that video that I don't say in this one. But really, more or less, the comments are so divisive. It's crazy how divisive they are. Yes, Superman is a wimp. He gets his ass kicked during all of the movie. At one point, he even gets kicked in the balls. That is true. Bro, you decided to put this out right when I tweeted you. Thanks for caring about me, John. Well, I will always care about you. Let's see another one in here. John getting it right as always. About the only thing this film has done for me is make me question the integrity and judgment of my previously favorite YouTube aficionados. Yeah, some people love it, some people hate it. I'm one of those people that's just like, it's entertaining, but it's not great, and there's a lot about it that I hate. But there's also some of it I find to be almost like a guilty pleasure. So those are some quick takes on the Superman movie. I would like to hear what you guys have to say about it. And let's dive into some of your questions here. We got one here from Beatrice Chaswick who says, do you miss the glory days of YouTube with all of the collabs? I think your audience, myself included, with channels like this, to be part of a movie convos. That's why collab videos were so good because It is blokes talking movies. Oh yeah, man. The thing is with modern day YouTube, a lot of people don't really collab anymore. And I prefer having a conversation. I like some banter back and forth. Just hearing the sound of my own voice constantly is like a nail scratching against my brain. Believe it or not, I don't actually like to hear myself talk, though it's sort of what I have to do for a living. When I make a video and I have to go edit it, it drains my will to live. Because it's just me talking, and I'm like, I don't want to hear me talk anymore. And I'm sure some of you feel the same way, but if you do like hearing me talk, please don't ever leave me. I need you. But thank you for watching. But yeah, I do miss collabs, but anytime I can talk movies with somebody or put them in one of my videos or be in one of their videos, I love doing it, because sometimes when you're having a collaboration with someone and talking about movies and going back and forth, sometimes you start exploring ideas you wouldn't have come up with yourself, and the topic leads somewhere that it might not have originally went. And I like things like that. I like reactionary thinking, and I think that's always the most fun. For me it is. I don't mind if someone has a different viewpoint on a movie. I almost prefer it. I think that's more fun. But anyway, all right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from... I'm looking for some Superman questions here. Here we go. Libby Films, people who say they saw the twist coming are liars who got the movie spoiled. So I won't spoil anything, but for me, Superman was a very, very predictable movie. I mean, there's a few things in there that I couldn't have predicted that would happen, but also there are things that I don't think should have happened, like monkeys. But beyond, like, what is he, the Wicked Witch of Oz? What is that shit? Anyway, if the twist that you're referring to, I did see that sort of coming from a mile away. That was my assumption just watching the first act of the movie. So I didn't think it was all that mind-blowing. It wasn't like watching Inception. It was like watching a comic book movie that 9-year-old children could comprehend. And that's who it's made for. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's money to be made by catering to families and children as your demographic. There's a lot more money to be made that way. So I sort of saw that aspect coming, but Greg Harris says, obviously, there's no fans of the comics here. That's why they didn't get the movie. I don't like that comment, and I don't agree with that. I'm not necessarily a fan of Superman comic books by any means. He's never been one of my favorite characters. Though I think he's iconic and I think he's cool, I never really cared about Superman in live action form until, and I'll tell you what turned me off from Superman for a very, very long time. In 1999, I bought a video game on the N64 called Superman N64. Maybe you played it. It's one of the most atrocious experiences you'll ever play. I actually had like a 5-minute segment in my review talking about this game for no reason whatsoever, and I cut it out because I knew people's attention spans could not hold on long enough. But anyway, all you do in that game is you play Superman and you fly around through rings floating in the sky. And it's really hard to do. Like, Superman in that game has the agility of driving a semi-truck through, I don't know, a labyrinth. Like, you can't churn worth a shit. And you just fly through rings, and that's all you do. So anyway, where was I going with that? I'm not quite sure. But my point is, I've never cared about Superman until I watched Zack Snyder's Man of Steel in 2013. I thought that sort of made Superman cool and different, and there was an edge to it. And I'm not saying it's the perfect incarnation of Superman. I'm just saying that was like the version of Superman that got my attention. And plus the Hans Zimmer music is pretty awesome. So going to your point, I liked that version of Superman. I even found entertainment in this new Superman movie, but I was never a fan of the comics. And I don't think you need to be a fan of the source material to appreciate good storytelling, because good storytelling is always good storytelling. Good characters are always going to be good characters. And if you need the lore to back that up or to explain it, or if you need to read 58 different versions of Superman comic books to appreciate a Superman movie, I would say then your movie is fundamentally flawed at its core, and it hasn't done its job of telling a good story, because a movie should stand on its own. It shouldn't need the source material to back it up. It's like watching the Harry Potter movies. You should not have to read one Harry Potter book to enjoy those movies or comprehend what's happening. That is the movie's job to do that. So I'm going to disagree with you on that one. But hey, that's what's fun about this. I like when we disagree. I enjoy it. All right. Let's see. We got Gorilla Beach, who says, someone needs to shove Drive in the live show. What do you mean shove Drive in the live show? You want me to put my Drive jacket on and dance for you? Is that what you want me to do? I can do it. Dustin Rich says, I probably read more Superman comics than 90% of people in this chat, but the movie looks dumb. Man of Steel is still my favorite Superman movie. Yeah, you know, the thing is, once again, this new Superman movie it's dumb fun. It's not the greatest movie, but I had a good time watching it. And the thing I will tell you guys, and I said this in my review, if they were to make the ultimate Superman movie, let's back up for a second. If the Nicolas Cage Superman movie that eventually got canceled, directed by Tim Burton, if that movie had never existed, but they had to make another Superman movie in the late 1990s, it would have been something like this new Superman movie. It feels like a 1990s comic book movie, and the 12-year-old kid in me really enjoys that. I just wish it wasn't as zany as it was. And I don't think I mentioned this, though. Since this is the launching pad of the DCU, my biggest issue with this is I hope this is not the same tone of every DC movie going forward. I think this works for something like Superman, but if you try to do this zany, wacky shit in my Batman movie, I am going to be very, very upset, okay? Like, we already had Batman and Robin. We don't need that again, all right? So you just leave that shit at home. Thank you very much, James Gunn. But I think with Superman, it works. But when they make the Batman movie or a Green Lantern movie or a Wonder Woman movie or whatever, they better not make it this wacky. I think there's room for some comedy and some levity and some very comic booky stuff. But man, I hope this is only like a Superman thing, or and also I think like a Supergirl thing would work as well. So, but anyway, but then we're gonna have Jason Momoa playing Lobo in the upcoming Supergirl movie. So there's that as well. All right. Alejandro says the movie was okay. The hype was overrated. Yeah, it definitely had a lot of hype to it, and I get why people like it or younger kids like it. I get it. Gorilla Beach says, thank you, Dustin Rich. Okay. All right, let's see. Let's back up here. Okay, let's read some of the super chats over here. I've neglected you guys for too long, and here we go. Coming in from, and we can keep talking about Superman throughout the stream, but I'm going to answer some of these questions along the way. Libby Films says, get rid of one comic book movie director, Sam Raimi, Zack Snyder, James Gunn, and the Russo Bros. Oh man, that's a tough one. Sam Raimi has some good movies, and he did the Spider-Man movies, which I would say really ignited the comic book genre in the best way possible with his early Spider-Man movies. The Russos directed Avengers Endgame, Infinity War. They directed Winter Soldier. I mean, they do good comic book movies. And then you had, who else did you have in here? Zack Snyder. But he directed, listen, outside of Man of Steel, Zack Snyder, I could live without. You know what? I'm going to go with Zack Snyder. I like Man of Steel, but then again, the Russos, I'm going to go with Zack Snyder because I was not happy with what he did with Batman v Superman. As much as I like Man of Steel, I think Batman v Superman was a major disappointment. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Sal, who says, hey, John, are you going to see Eddington next week? I don't know. Maybe. Really, the only movies on my radar right now, and I'm kind of glad there's like a downtime between Fantastic Four, because I'm sort of like ready not to talk about blockbuster movies for a couple weeks. I sort of want to make the videos I want to make and not be obligated to talk about every new movie. But I am gonna see I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, or whatever it's called. I Still Know What You Did 20 Years Ago, whatever it's called movie. I'm going to see that. And by the way, I just recently rewatched I Know What You Did Last Summer. We watched the 4K of it, and I liked the movie, and I like that it actually looks like a movie. It's shot on film, and it definitely exists in that same sort of genre as something like Scream. It has the same screenwriter. But my biggest issue with I Know What You Did Last Summer is the antagonist of the story is pretty lame. I'm sorry, the fisherman storyline, it's like he gets hit by a car and he seeks vengeance. But ultimately, he's just a dude that like is a shrimp boat captain. And he did all this convoluted shit to seek vengeance. I don't know. I just don't think the motivation was all that intriguing, or who's actually committing the murders. But I think the lore of like a crazy man on the loose with a hook for a hand, that's cool. But what they turned it into with the fisherman storyline, I don't know. I've never been into it. You know, like Scream, the motivation behind the killers, Billy and Stu, that makes sense. I think that's intriguing. But I Know What You Did Last Summer, I don't know. I never felt like the payoff was worth it. But but when I was younger, I quite enjoyed watching Jennifer Love Hewitt in the film, and Sarah Michelle Gellar. And hey, even Freddie Prinze Jr. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from... It's coming from somebody. Okay, here we go. Night King O... we answered that already. We answered that 12 days ago. Sorry. James Dozier says, I don't know if I will see Superman. Listen, I saw it in IMAX, and I think if you want a good summertime blockbuster movie where you just want to turn your brain off, it's the equivalent of watching like a Transformers movie, right? It's fun, it's bombastic, it's entertaining, it's bright, it's bold, it's vivid. It's something to look at for 2 hours. And there are some cool moments in the movie. So I am ultimately excited to see where Superman goes next. I'm just hoping that they give him a better plot or a better story to exist in. Silvio says, love the channel. Well, thanks, Silvio. Thank you for that, man. Thank you. Daniel Martin. How's it going, Daniel? John, don't you think Superman was just a gun self-insert story? Superman returns after getting canceled by an army of monkey trolls on Twitter. Yeah, I definitely did pick up on the commentary there, and I do get it completely. And you can tell James Gunn has like a strong resentment for social media, and hey, I do too. If they just deleted X and TikTok, I would not care whatsoever. I think it would be better for everyone's mental health by far. You know, but with all that said, I definitely agree that there was some internal like social commentary from James Gunn complaining about audiences. Except oddly enough, I don't think Superman was putting out any odd tweets about taking advantage of small children. So there's that. like what were you thinking, man? Come on. I know it was 10 years ago and it was a bad joke, but still. All right. The next one comes from Movies Are Life, who says, Superman was 2 out of 10. I liked Hot Girl's one-liner. I think she only had one line in the movie, or didn't she just yell or something? Anyway, she didn't really do much in the movie, but it's the same chick who was in The Last of Us Season 2. I thought she was fine, but keep in mind, the Justice Gang in the Superman movie are basically all secondary characters, but I did like Nathan Fillion? Why does it all sound wrong to me right now? Nathan Fillion. I did like his Guy Gardner, a Green Lantern character, and you will be happy to hear this if you haven't seen the movie. They do make a reference to his shitty haircut in the movie, so there's that. But I thought the Justice Gang was fine, and Mr. Terrific probably by far has the most screen time of any of the characters. It was fine. It was fine. All right, we got one here from Immortum. How's it going, Immortum? Hey, John, just finished watching all of the Rocky movies. Would you agree Rocky 5 is the best and most... Oh, Rocky 4. Roman numerals always escape me. Rocky 4 is the best and most badass of them all. Dolph Lundgren looks like he could kill Batman and Superman at the same time. Oh, Dolph Lundgren, first of all, the dude was like a chemical engineer. He had a PhD. He's 6'4", weighs 280 pounds of pure muscle with bleach blonde hair, and he was all over the juice in the 1980s. I agree. He is a Greek god amongst men, and that's why he was cast as the role of Ivan Drago in Rocky IV. But when it comes to Rocky IV, it's nothing but a series of montages and a boxing match. That's what that movie consists of. It's an hour and a half. You're in, you're out. Was it a cash grab? Absolutely. But do I enjoy watching Rocky climb to the top of a mountain and train with Hearts on Fire playing in the background, all covered in baby oil, doing setups in a gym in Russia? I absolutely do. More than you'll ever know. And just thinking about that right now makes me want to take off my shirt and flex my muscles and scream up at the moon. But thank you for the question, man. And you do get a party popper for your glorious super chat. 3, 2, where do you want me to pop this at? I'm going to pop it right here. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, it's raining party poppins all over me. All right. Let's go to the next one here. And thanks for the question, man. Thank you so much. All right. Johannes Gerald says, Superman is everything I dislike about modern cinema. It's messy, superficial, rushed, and overloaded with CGI. Too many characters we don't care about and forced humor that just doesn't land. I'm glad you liked it more than me. The thing about it is, it's exactly what I thought it would be. It's like the Flash movie that I was talking about from a couple years ago. It's fatally flawed, but there is some fun to be had in there. You know, the thing with the Flash movie, I thought everything with Michael Keaton's Batman, it was fun. But I don't think it's highbrow cinema by any means. And I agree with everything you're saying. This modern Superman movie, it definitely feels like it's made for the TikTok generation. It's glossy. It's so abrupt and so quick that they don't really expand on anything. And even the fight sequences in the movie, the way that the camera moves and pans and zooms around, it doesn't take its time to allow you to get immersed. And also the emotional connection, at times it might sort of be there with Superman, but as soon as they want to get too emotional, they have to crack a joke. So it's like there is a disconnect there. And I agree. There is so much wrong with this movie. It's too glossy. It's too digital. It's a mess. But it's a fun mess. All right, let's go to the next one here. But I agree with you. More or less, it's sort of everything that movies shouldn't do. But I give it the benefit of the doubt when it comes to this. Sebastian says, if Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt were to reunite in a movie again, what do you think it would be about and who should direct? Listen, since you had Brad Pitt in F1, you had Tom Cruise in Top Gun Maverick, both directed by Joseph Kosinski. Put them in a buddy team-up movie directed by Joseph Kosinski. Make it an awesome, badass, epic action movie where they team up. What are they doing? I'm not quite sure. I couldn't tell you. Maybe they're space rangers in the year 2150 on a mission to an alien planet to kick some ass. Or maybe they just make a sequel to Edge of Tomorrow and Brad Pitt can be in the movie as well. I don't care. But if you align all of those things together in one movie, I think it would be awesome. That's what I would like to see. And can Hans Zimmer do the score of it? Just putting it out there. So... by the way, I have been meaning, I want to go back and rewatch F1 at some point, and we do have a local drive-in theater like 30 minutes away from my house, and I would like to go up there and watch it. It's just not playing, and my wife has not seen the movie, so I'm waiting for that to play again before I go watch it again. But the thing I wanted to mention about F1 was when I went on my vacation to North Carolina, keep in mind, it was a 10-hour road trip, and it was awful, but... I did listen to the soundtrack of F1 by Zimmer And the main score, the main theme of the movie, I think it's just called F1. That is the ultimate driving song you could ever listen to. It just made me drive faster and smoother, and I did kind of feel like Brad Pitt. So if you haven't listened to it, I highly recommend it, and potentially behind the wheel of a car, preferably. The next one comes from Nobia, who says, "Happy 35 years to 1990 TMNT. How's it been 30 years? I remember the anniversary was coming up, but I thought it was in August. Has it been 35 years officially? Okay. Anyway, thank you, John, for always entertaining us and for never changing. Love from Sydney." Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I do want to show you guys something that when I think of the Ninja Turtles, especially the VHS of the Ninja Turtles, I think of this commercial right here. Oh, get ready for it. Get ready for this, everyone. Okay, you guys ready for pure nostalgia? Now, if you've never watched the VH version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990, this is what you're missing. This is one of the reasons I would rewatch it every other day in my grandmother's living room. Just let's watch this together. Here we go. Copyright. Let me pause it. So this played before the movie, and it's basically a pizza commercial. Let me get to the good stuff here. So isn't that beautiful? And then at the end, you have all the kids celebrating, and they're eating pizza. Perfect tie-in to Ninja Turtles. Ugh. Like, if that doesn't make you want to eat pizza, nothing else in life ever will. I love it. All right. So anyway, yeah, I do want to go back and watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I thought it was coming back in theaters in August. I could be wrong. Someone correct me if I am. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Sebastian, who says, "Imagine if Scorsese made a biopic about the Rolling Stones. This would have been one of the most self-indulgent movies ever made." I mean, basically, in every Scorsese movie, he plays nothing but Rolling Stones. But I think he would be the right man for the job, don't you? I couldn't think of a more talented filmmaker that would do it justice. I'd be okay with that. Jesus Salcido says, "I saw Fight Club for the first time, but to be honest, it was an okay movie. I saw the twist coming with Brad Pitt. Overall, it was okay. I don't get the hype." Yeah, you know what, though? That's sort of like saying I just watched The Empire Strikes Back for the first time and I saw the twist coming from a mile away. Well, yeah, probably. I mean, I feel like it's been talked about for the last 25 years. And by this point, you know, with the internet, you're going to hear about it at some point. But back in 1999, you didn't see it coming, and it was clever. But also, I enjoy the movie's social commentary because when you have the character played by Edward Norton, and he's talking about consumerism and Bob's bitch tits and just the feeling like a copy of a copy with insomnia, little things like that I relate to. I know I know that sounds crazy, but I like things like that. I thought it was clever and dark and you're too fucking blonde. Talking to Jared Leto out there on the porch. I think it's a brilliant movie. I still think it's great. So, but it's all subjective. But did you at least enjoy the filmmaking style from David Fincher? Did you like the way it looked? Did you like the conversations between the characters? I don't know. All right. Sebastian says, Did Will Smith do a bad choice by not taking the role of Django? Also, would the movie have been better or worse with him instead of Jamie Foxx? You know, the thing about Will Smith is he really should probably fire his agent. There has been multiple huge blockbuster movies he just did not do. either because he didn't comprehend it or maybe he's too stupid. I'm not quite sure. But he was supposed to be Neo in The Matrix back in 99. Didn't take the movie. And then he was supposed to play Django in Django Unchained in 2012. And I think I much prefer Jamie Foxx as Django. I think he's a bit more authentic to the role. And he's not, and at the time he was in that movie, he just didn't feel as overexposed as Will Smith. When I see Will Smith, I just think that's Will Smith. So I sort of like Jamie Foxx's take on the character Django. To me, it felt like it was a better mesh with the actual character. Will Smith just kind of feels like Will Smith. V-Guard says, your thoughts on the previous Superman movies? That's a great question. So when it comes to the original Superman movies, and keep in mind, I've seen all of them at least once, but some of them like escape my mind, like Superman 3 with Richard Pryor, I don't remember a lot about. Superman 2, I remember almost nothing about. But I grew up watching the Christopher Reeves Superman movies. And when you go back and watch the original from the late 70s, especially the Richard Donner cut, which immensely improves the film, I get, like, if I had watched that movie in theaters back in the 70s, I would think that's a pretty awesome movie because they took it serious. They treated it like a real thing rather than some stupid child's project comic book movie. Like, they treated it like a real movie. It had Marlon Brando in it. And I thought it was, I think it's good, you know? And the thing about the new Superman movie is it definitely does pay tribute to that. And it has some of the self-aware cheese factor and some of the hokiness, and the vibe still exists, you know, but, and then you had like Superman, the later Superman movies just felt like they ran out of money. Like the budget for like Superman Quest for Peace was like $7 and a pack of bubble gum. All right. And then you had Nuclear Man, who basically had artificial fake fingernails that you would buy at the Dollar Tree, but they were spray painted silver, and he had a shitty bleach blonde mullet. But then again, it was the 1980s, so you had to be somewhat forgiving of it. But those movies have some charm, but really the only good one I liked was the first one. And then you get into the next Superman movie was Superman Returns, right? Yeah, it was Superman Returns after those. And for me, I remember vividly going to the theater to watch that movie, and I was sort of excited to see it, but it just did not connect. It was too mopey and sad, and it wasn't the Superman movie anyone wanted to see, even though if you search some of the crevices on the internet, and I'm sure somebody watching right now will say they really enjoyed Superman Returns, and I kind of get it, but I thought the plot was stupid. Superman just mopey the whole time. I didn't care about his life, and that sounds does that sound cold? But Lex Luthor's plan in Superman Returns was to make landmass out of kryptonite, but the landmass he wants to create looks like the most unlivable land you could ever live on. It looks like it's made out of metal with shit shooting out of it and spikes. It's like a real estate scheme. That's what you want to do here? And nope. Like, who wants to build their house on this? The landmass that he creates with the kryptonite basically looks like the asteroid from Armageddon. Like what is this? But I thought the scene where he saves the plane from crashing was kind of cool, but really that was it, you know. And then after that, we got Man of Steel, which I quite enjoy and I think is a better movie than the new Superman movie because people kind of feel like people. I feel like there's an emotional gut punch in that film at times. But then again, you know, if it was like a rainy day and I needed something to watch as I eat food, for example, let's say I go to Panda Express and I get orange chicken with my my noodles, and I come home and I'm in front of the TV and I need something mindless to watch as I eat my food. Maybe I'm only going to watch 20 minutes of this and I'm going to get up and do something else. I would probably put on the new Superman movie over Man of Steel. Because the new Superman movie is you can just start it and stop it and you just, you know, it doesn't matter. It's something to look at when you eat. And, and that's like the best thing I could say about it. It's something to look at as you eat. But that still somehow gets a positive grade from me. And there's that. So, all right, let's go to the next one here. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? All right, let's go. Dustin Rich says Vince DiCola does the synth parts of Rocky IV and Transformers the movie, and both soundtracks make me want to bust through a wall like a Kool-Aid man. Oh, absolutely, man. And I guess, yeah, you're right. I did not know that. Huh. You're right, though. I didn't know he also did Transformers, but that makes sense. Yeah, there's something about rock music in the 80s with the synth sound. They need to really just bring that back completely. Just like that needs to come back. That needs to be accepted again, and that's how music should sound. It puts you in a good mood. It makes you happy. And whenever I'm feeling down and out, there's nothing better than 1980s rock ballads. Like if you want to clean the garage or like sweep your floor, put on 80s rock music and you'll do it better than you ever did before. And do it in your underwear. It just adds a little something to it. You know what I mean? All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from... here we go. Here we go. Okay. The next one comes from Alan, who says, my lady friend is visiting and she's bringing a DVD of Gladiator 2 for us to watch. Now, do I cut her out of my life? Well, the fact that she's bringing you this atrocious pile of modern day garbage that was just shit out of Ridley Scott's asshole, and they happen to call it Gladiator 2, and not only that, she's bringing the DVD copy? You're going to watch that low resolution, mediocre movie? I don't know about all of that. I think what you should do is just, when she walks through the door with it, crack it over your knee and say, hey, we're going to watch Gladiator, the better one, the original. Because my name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, father to a dead son, husband to a dead wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life and the next. Skylar Wheelock says, I was saying on X, James Gunn producing, directing, and writing, Gunn didn't have someone like Kevin Feige saying, let's not do a bunch of things in the movie, and a different approach to guide the movie to a better direction. Sorry for the confusion. Oh, that's fine. Sometimes when I read questions, my brain has like severe ADHD when I'm reading questions, so if it gets too wordy, I start cutting out words to make it make sense quicker. So it's not your fault. It might be mine. But I agree with you. When you give James Gunn full reign to do whatever he wants, he does make a messy, discombobulated movie. He just does. And when you rein him in and you have a few producers sort of dictating what he does and interjecting some different ideas, you sort of get a better product. And I think the Guardians of the Galaxy films are a clear indication of that. That was a good balance, you know. That's sort of the balance I prefer. If you want to have a zany comic book movie, that's fine, but also have some dramatic moments. And I think the Guardians of the Galaxy movies sort of balance that. But when you leave James Gunn up to his own accord, you know, you get things like Suicide Squad, you get things like Superman, where it's so all over the place, and there's some cool ideas, but he always wants to throw like kaijus and dumb shit in his movies that really kill the pacing. So like it's at his own detriment. Too much freedom is like not a good thing, and that happens to a lot of directors. You know, sometimes when it comes to movie making, being collaborative is sometimes the best thing. Now, sometimes you have to collaborate with talentless hacks that are producers at major studios who have no artistic merits or takes or original ideas. All they care about are demographics and appeasing people on social media. But I do think James Gunn, too much creative freedom is sort of like a noose for him. You know, he sort of hangs himself a little bit with it. But let's go to the next one here. But that's a good point. Sebastian says, would you rather see Tarantino's The Big Lebowski or the Coen brothers' Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Well, I'd like to see both of them. Which one do I like more? You know, for me, The Big Lebowski is sort of like a way of life. I think that is, for me, one of the more iconic movies I would lean towards, but I do quite enjoy. And they both sort of have a similar sort of dynamic, you know? And now I definitely think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's a bit darker in tone, especially going into that third act. But man, the Big Lebowski is like just such a relaxing, fun comedy movie that connects with me. But then again, Once Upon a Time does as well. And they both have like this buddy hangout vibe to them. Like in Big Lebowski, you have the dude, you have John Goodman, Walter, who's very high strung. Over the line. 9-year-olds, dude. 9-year-olds. Yeah, they both have that same vibe. But I think the Big Lebowski is... If I had to pick one, I'm going with the Big Lebowski. But I like both of them quite a bit. All right, the next one comes from Night King 01. How's it going, Night King? One of the main problems I have with the movie and other Superman films is that they are allergic to building up Lex as a villain. Instead, make him a straight-up supervillain out of the gate. Why not have Lex be the shadowy figure he usually is? Well, I don't think there was a lot of nuance in this new Superman movie because he was just a full-out supervillain comic book character. And I liked it. I sort of liked it. He's outrageous. He's just doing outrageous shit throughout the movie. And I did not dislike it. But I do think there was some room for improvement. And I get what you're saying. Like, you could have him in the background pulling the strings, and you don't really need a lot of screen time with him. And then maybe in the sequel, have a little more screen time with Lex. I think that's one way they could have went with it. But in this new Superman movie, they were so just gung-ho. James gung-ho with just throwing everything in the movie to set up this universe as quickly as possible. And they weren't looking to tease it or go slow with it. They threw everything at the wall. And some of it sticks and a lot of it just made a mess, but for better or worse, you got supervillain Lex Luthor in this one, but I didn't mind it. It sort of matched the tone of the movie. Inhelms25 says, John, not trying to be mean here, but given Stuckman's pansexuality, is it fair to assume that he developed the hots for you and could no longer maintain a platonic friendship because Johnny Boy don't swing that way? I don't know. I mean, did I ever, wake up in the middle of the night with him staring at me? Maybe occasionally. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't know if I was his type, to be honest with you. I really don't know. Actually, I asked him this and he said, no, man, never. But then again, would you really tell me the truth? But I don't think that was any issue whatsoever. I don't think that was any issue. And to be honest with you, if you really want my insights to that, when Chris came out as pansexual, even though he's married, so I don't know what his goal with that was. Maybe it was self-liberating, but at the same time, if he's never going to act on it, I don't know what the purpose of it was. But anyway, my take on that is I was very good friends with him for 5, 6 years, 7 years leading up to that. And that announcement was not shocking or a surprise to me whatsoever. Just, I read people very well. I watch people. I see mannerisms. I see the way people talk, and just, it doesn't shock me whatsoever. But it would make me feel kind of good inside and give me the tingles if he had a slight man crush on me, but I don't know. Couldn't tell you, man. But there's that. All right. I don't know. Leave a comment on his video and ask him. I don't know. All right. The next one comes from Gorilla Beach, who says, "Hey John, watch the Big Lebowski again. The movie could not be made nowadays. Please do the beverage thing. Thank you." Well, hey man, there's a beverage here. That's all I got. All right. All this Big Lebowski talk sort of makes me want to go watch the movie right now. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from... Come on, questions. Update. There we go. Tommy Lee says, "Hello, Jonathan. Hope you are well. Would you take the opportunity to turn into a vampire if it was offered?" You know, that might be the most profound question of the evening. And I think that deserves some thought, don't you? Well, first, let me give you the party popper. Are you ready for it? 3, 2, 1. Ooh, yeah. Thank you for the question. By the way, every question, every super chat that's $10 gets a party popper or over. So there's that. And if it's a really good question, maybe I'll give you 2 party poppers. So if I could be a vampire, ultimately, if I can be the type of vampire that I sort of have to live the nightlife, but I will live forever, but I do have to drink the blood of the innocent, but I do have some superpowers, right? I have some superpowers. I can do some vampire shit. I think maybe, why not? At this point, why not? I think I'd be a vampire. And that's a great question for everyone watching right now. If you could become a vampire, would you do it? And you need to really think about it. There's no more going outside during the daytime to play baseball. You got to wait until it's a gloomy day and it's thundering out to get away with playing baseball. Now the question is, am I sort of like a vampire from Twilight? Do I glimmer under the sunlight? Because if I have sparkly skin, then the answer is no. I'm not. There's a lot of things I can get away with, but that is not one of them. My toxic male masculinity will never allow for such a thing. All right, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, "Joseph Kosinski needs to do a submarine movie. He's done air. He just did land. He's got to go into the sea next and conquer that." I mean, I could see something underwater. I think that would be kind of cool. I think that's a great setting for a movie, underwater. I don't know how crazy you want to get with it, but I think a submarine movie could be kind of cool. Like there's some dogfighting with submarines under the sea. I don't know. That could work. I don't know if there's a big market for a submarine movie, but sure, why not? I'd be okay with that. I'd like to see him do like a sci-fi movie or something. Where you can combine all of these things. Sebastian says, John Campea should be replaced with Nick Nolte.
Well, hey guys, our next main topic, now take this with a grain of salt. I love Man of Steel.
That's my John Campea, Nick Nolte impression. Please don't ever make me do that again. Okay, the next one. The next one comes from James Dosier, who says, "Have you seen the movie The Italian Job from 2003? Of course I've seen The Italian Job from 2003. And fun backstory, I saw that movie in theaters like 4 times. And the reason I saw it 4 times in theaters is when it came out, for some reason, it felt like for months on end, there was nothing else good to watch in the theater. So I would go see the movie with one group of friends. I'd go see the movie the next week with another group of friends. And then we, like every group of friends that wanted to see a movie, we ended up seeing The Italian Job for like 3 months straight. And I could be wrong, but I swear it was almost like re-released twice that same year. It just felt like it was in theaters forever. And maybe 2003 was like a bad year for movies, but I just remember seeing that like 3 times in theaters. So I like The Italian Job. You had Jason Statham, you had the ensemble cast, you had Seth Green, you had Mark Wahlberg. Fun time. It was a good heist movie. And you had Edward Norton. But anyway, I watched it for the first time the other day, and I found it to be very boring and forgettable. I liked Edward Norton in the film, even though he hated being in it. Yeah, I get why he would hate being in that movie. It's sort of a forgettable movie, but you also have Charlize Theron just looking good driving a Mini Cooper, so there's that. All right, the next one comes from James Dosier. James Dosier says, "No vampire for me." Well, maybe the nightlife's just not for you. Dustin Rich says, I wish there was a new Blade movie where he slaughters every Twilight character. Yeah, I like those memes quite a bit. And by the way, we were supposed to get a new Blade movie like 2 years ago, but that got canceled. Campia is way too my way on the Campia is way too my way or the highway. Well, that comes with narcissism and being pretentious. That's what happens when you stay in Hollywood too long. You think your opinion really truly matters. Here, the next one comes from Angel, who says, we live in a society of hypocrites. I mean, more or less, yeah. My least favorite type of person or individual are hypocrites. I can't stand them. Okay. Let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from InHomes25, who says, you are correct with the guest and the driver comparison. Gosling could easily play the guest and Dan Stevens could easily play driver. The similarities and influence in the characters are quite obvious. Thanks, InHomes25. That was a hot topic of debate a few live shows ago. And I just said they were sort of similar characters. That's all. And they look the same. That's all I was saying. But thank you for that. Thank you for validating my opinion. That does mean a lot. Thank you. All right. We got one here from Patrice Chaswick, who says, watching Die Hard with a Vengeance, Willis and Jackson are so good together. They would never make this today. McClane's sign alone. Oh, yeah, man. By the way, Patrice, thank you for the super chat. Would you like this right in the camera lens? I'm going to give it to you right here. You ready for it? Don't blink. Keep your eyes open. 3, 2, 1. You took it like a pro. Die Hard with a Vengeance is kind of my favorite Die Hard movie. I know technically speaking, the first one is like the iconic classic, and it's like a perfect action movie. But the one that I've always found more rewatchable is Die Hard with a Vengeance, because I like the buddy team-up vibe with Samuel L. Jackson and John McClane. Bruce Willis. I forgot who Bruce Willis was for a second. Sorry. But what we're referring to here is in the opening scene of Die Hard with a Vengeance. If you've never seen the movie, the opening scene is something they would probably never do in a modern day blockbuster action movie ever. Because John McClane, due to the demands of a terrorist, he has to wear a sign that's very hateful, but he has to do it in Harlem naked wearing this sign. And let's just say it doesn't go as well as, well, it kind of goes like you would expect it to. But man, that's like a great scene. And you just don't see things like that in movies anymore. It's like someone would be offended by that, so they wouldn't do it. But now it's a scene that we all remember 30 years later. So what does that tell you? If you try to appease everyone, guess what? You end up appeasing no one. But thank you for the question, Patrice. All right, Immortum, back at it again, says, hey, John, considering we live in a world where TikTok is accepted and normalized and DC is being marvelized, it makes me so glad that you have the intelligence to understand Man of Steel. Well, thank you for that. You know what it is? You know what's weird about Man of Steel and the new Superman movie? Back when Man of Steel came out, the biggest complaints were we want it to be lighter and more comic booky and sort of like a Marvel movie. And now you're getting the extreme version of that with the new Superman movie. And now the complaints from people who don't like it is we want it to be more like Man of Steel. Isn't it interesting how we just flip-flop back and forth? Or maybe, just maybe, you'll never make anyone happy or everyone happy. And the great thing is both movies exist. So you can pick and choose which one you want to watch. But thank you for that. Yeah, I like Man of Steel. I do. I like the movie. I don't even think Man of Steel is perfect. It has some flaws. I didn't give the movie an A+. I did give it an A-, but I still like the movie quite a bit. And yeah, so thanks for the question, and you get a party popper. That was a good one. All right, thanks for the question. All right, Skylar Wheelock says, why is The Dark Knight becoming less beloved among younger film fans, especially Gen Z, when millennials saw it as a masterpiece when it came out? Listen, I don't want to go on a tirade too long, but my assumption, just my theory from my stupid brain to you is younger audiences, and not all of them, there's some very intelligent younger people that exist, but I blame it on TikTok. I blame it on nuances dying. Because when you're a younger person and you grow up in the social media age of something like TikTok, all you know and all you're inundated with are hyperbolic headlines. And we also live in a society where, once again, nuance is dead. There is no gray zone. You either love it or you hate it. That is what I understand. I don't understand if you kind of like it and have some problems with it. No, I don't understand that. You love it or hate it. And I think that divisiveness when it comes to having an opinion on anything is bad. I think it's terrible. And what happens with that is you start getting a society of people who don't have the patience or the mental fortitude to watch something unravel that has nuance in it, that has ups and downs, you know? And I think that's to blame. And I think in another 20 years, it's only going to get worse. And I think the more social media that we're subjected to, the lower the social IQ becomes. And as someone who's been making YouTube videos for 15 years now, I've seen it happen myself. You know, ever since like 2014 and beyond, the more social media platforms that we get, I've noticed the dumber people have become. And you would think with the advent of more information and more opinions, you think people would have a better, well-rounded perspective, especially on something as subjective as art and movies, but it's not the case. It's like the tastes have gotten worse because we can't take the time to watch anything else that isn't just bombastic and easily understandable. And everyone talks in sound bites now. And I don't like that because when you talk in sound bites, there's a lot of conversation that you miss along the way. Am I getting too deep for you? Is this getting weird? Should I stop or should I keep going? Because this is the kind of stuff I think about when I'm taking a poop or when I'm laying in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning or just driving home from a 3.5 hour screening. I think, is it me or is it society? And I'm glad that you kind of see where I'm coming from. And I like all of you guys because I think most of you understand me. So it does comfort me at home. And if you feel the same way, please share your thoughts and your opinions down below. So that's my take on that. That's all I got to say about that. I'm just going to light off a party popper. There we go. All right. All right. There we go. But thanks for the question. All right. The next one comes from your name here, who says, you're saying something. Here it is. Happy Friday, John. Aside from Jurassic World Afterbirth, I call it Jurassic World abortion. That's why, because the franchise is done. It's over. You've ran out of ideas. And when it comes to Jurassic World Rebirth, I made a reaction video. And by the way, I made a flick trip for Jurassic World Rebirth over on the Flick Pick channel. Go check it out. If you guys want a new flick trip video, I go to see Jurassic World Rebirth. I go on a 400-mile trip to Detroit to see an early screening. And there's some cool stuff that happens along the way. And there's some Jurassic Park vehicles that I check out. And I talk about the movie with a friend of mine who also makes social media reviews. Really nice guy. So if you haven't watched the newest Flick Trip video going to see Jurassic World, go check it out over on the Flick Pick channel. But anyway, what other movie did you drive a long way for that sucked? Thanks for bringing us along for the trip. Well, thanks for that. That means a lot. You know, every screening I go to see is typically like a 3-hour drive. So I don't know. I drove 3 hours to see Thor: Love and Thunder. That wasn't very good. I'm trying to. I'm sort of selective. I make the drive for movies, even if I know they're gonna kind of suck. As long as they're a bigger movie, I'll go watch it. Because let's all be honest, negativity gets more clicks than positivity. Like if there's a movie that's bad and you hate it, and you do a screamy face thumbnail, it typically gets more views. And that's the reality that we live in. But you know what? That's okay. But I'm trying to like. Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness wasn't that great. I'm trying to think of like something that was just terrible though. I don't, off the top of my head, I can't come up with anything. But I have driven very far to see a lot of movies. We'll go with those for now. But yeah, Jurassic World Rebirth might be the newest worst movie I drove the furthest to see. Because keep in mind, it was 3.5 hours there and 3.5 hours back. That's 7 hours of life I will never get back. But during those road trips, I do think about things and I think about movies and I do come up with some ideas. So that's why I make the road trips. It's a time to think and also listen to Hans Zimmer music on the way. Or make a flick trip. Dustin Rich says, Drive is about a stuntman, getaway driver, and the Guest is about an enhanced soldier who goes crazy and starts killing people. Yes, but are they both sociopaths with short blonde crew cuts that wear white t-shirts and don't say a lot, but are both very violent in the ways that they act? So I would say there's some personality similarities there, and I think they could be cousins if you really think about it. Dustin Rich says, John, if you saw a little clone girl about to push a button, what would you do and say to the little clone girl? Well, first of all, I'd say, hey, you're not a real person. You're a little clone girl. Then I would throw her over the ledge and let velociraptors tear her apart. Because keep in mind, these are the same animals, the same beast that you are about to unleash on society by pushing a button for your own selfish agenda. Why? Because they're like you. They're different. No, these are reptilian beasts who eat people alive. You're just a little clone girl who's stupid. That their grandfather created and now you live in his mansion. So I would throw her and feed her to dinosaurs. That's what I would do to her. And I know what you're saying, John. That's a bit brutal, isn't it? Well, no. I'm saving lives. I'm saving the lives of all the small children on playgrounds across America that will not be eaten by dinosaurs because now they're not released into the wild. So you can thank me later for such things. Let's go to the next question. Sometimes I feel like my humor is lost on people. I'm just giving you my dry wit. I'm sorry for that. All right, the next one comes from... Oh, here we go. InHomes25 says, John, I'm utterly sick of movies feeling like content. I know there is a common rant. I know this is a common rant on the live shows, but I miss the magic of cinema. Seems only 1 or 2 movies a year provide that feeling if we're lucky. Yeah, you know, it is all too common that we say the same thing. But unfortunately, there's a reason we keep saying it. That's because that's what we keep getting. A lot of modern day movies, and I don't know why this is, but they're made to be forgotten. And the other thing is, I think when it comes to casting actors in movies, especially newer actors, they don't have, maybe they don't have the filmography, or maybe they don't have the power, but when you go back to Hollywood from the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, and even the early 2000s, with the group of actors that were the main A-list actors in Hollywood, the thing that they all had was charisma. They had likability. They could elevate any role that they were in simply because they had the charisma to do so. And nowadays, I feel like most actors are just so happy to get a gig that they're just reading the lines of dialogue, but there's not much to them. They don't really have a personality. And sometimes when you see these actors in interviews, they don't have personalities. And I think if you don't have the fundamental personality before you become an actor if you don't have natural charisma, then I don't know how you will have it as an actor. And I think I've noticed that a lot with modern day younger actors. Like, you watch them in interviews, you try to watch them talk, and they just feel like droids. There's nothing there. They're just there to read lines of dialogue. And I think that shines through in most films. Or at least that's my theory half the time. The other half of the equation is, I think most modern day movies are just terribly written and they're dumbed down. And also I think digital sort of like makes everything feel like a TV show. You know, it's overlit, it's too digital, it's too crisp. It doesn't have enough contrast to it like film does. And things don't look like movies anymore. They don't feel special. And when it comes to movies before digital, they had this like warm glow to them. It felt like a dream that you were living in. It felt like real escapism. And I think that's what movies should be. So I'm happy that you guys come here to listen to my internal thoughts spewing out of my mouth for 2 hours. But thank you. And let me know if you agree, or if you disagree in the comments. Please let me know. What is your take on this? Blu-ray Addict says, "Hey John, is Batman and Robin still the worst comic book film of all time?" Isn't it odd though? Like, I have met younger kids who like that movie. And like, if you look at the new Superman movie, it's like they're sort of like, they're teasing that a little bit. Now it's more self-aware, but it's like we're going that direction a little bit, and I don't know if I like it. But yeah, I think it's the worst. For me, it's one of the biggest letdowns of any comic book movie, because like I was hoping it was good. But watching something like Catwoman with Halle Berry, I didn't think it was ever going to be good. So in that sense, when I was a kid, it was definitely a letdown. I remember just thinking, what is this? Like, what is happening? Like, I liked Arnold. Like, I've always been a fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger, but watching him as Mr. Freeze, even as a kid, I was like, this is not how it should be. This is off. Can we fix this somehow? Like, even as a kid, I didn't want to buy the toys for Batman Forever. Like, I thought the Batmobile looked stupid. I thought the action figures looked stupid. Like, if you just look at the action figures with Michael Keaton from the 89 Batman or the Batman Returns, it's so much cooler. Like, let's look at it for a second. Like, look, Batman and Robin toys. Okay, let's check this out. So, like, look at this. Like, do you want this? Would you want this version of Robin to play with? I wouldn't. But I want to see the Batmobile. Here we go. Like, look at this thing, man. It's all open like a Barbie convertible. It looks so lame and cheap. I don't know. I just thought it looked kind of stupid. And then you have Batman 89 Batmobile toy. Yeah, and then you go to, like, this might be a newer version of it. But this, I think this is the original, right? Okay. Yeah, and look at that. It's so much cooler. Just everything about it is, like, look at Batman himself. Just everything about that's way awesome. Or way cooler. And I remember the Joker toy from this. The purple one with the straight legs. Yeah. Yeah, that right there. No, that's from the TV series. Well, whatever. You guys get what I'm saying. I'm just saying I didn't like Batman and Robin. There it is. Okay. Let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from, let's see. Nix says, I still enjoyed the Superman film. However, I still gave pause on some of the decisions that were made, and the others. Challenge Gunn to be more cautious going forward in order to not repeat the same mistakes that were made here. I agree. Like, if he just toned it back a little bit, I think there's like a really good movie in Superman. I really do. And you can kind of see it shining through every once in a while. It just needs a little more drama, a little less jokes. And I think some of the action scenes need to take their time a little bit. Like when Superman's flying around doing stuff, that's cool, but like make it last longer than 3 seconds and stop panning the camera all over the place. Like have a POV shot where it follows Superman for like 60 seconds and like get me immersed into that action sequence. And it just feels like they're afraid to do that sometimes. But I agree. Maybe going forward, it'll get slightly better. Tim Burton's Superman has cool concept art and would be great if animated. Lots of interesting people involved, and a biopic on the production nightmare would be cool too. Yeah, are you? Well, there is a I watched. I think it's an unofficial documentary. But thank you for the question. You get a party popper. 3, 2, 1. Yay! I'm going to leave it right there, just for now. But there is an unofficial documentary I watched about Batman 89 and the production behind it. It was on YouTube. Look it up at some point. Let me see if I can find it right now, because I do want to give it a shout out. Batman 89 documentary. Let's see if I can find this. Is this it? No, I don't remember what it is or where it's at. It's on YouTube somewhere, but it was a really good documentary somebody made. Kind of covering all of that, kind of covering everything you were talking about, and I thought it was pretty well done. So maybe look into that. I'm sorry I can't exactly tell you what it's called right now, but Tyler says, "Gotta run, but here's a quick buck and change." Well, thanks, Tyler. Thanks for the question, or thanks for the tip. I'll take it. Just the tip, just for a second. Skylar Wheelock says, "What can we learn from Forrest Gump about how to handle what life throws at us?" Well, you know, it's like a wise man once said, life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And isn't that the truth? And sometimes, if I think really hard about it, I can remember my very first pair of shoes. No, but I've been on a really big boat. You ever been to Bayou La Battery? All right, let's go to the next one. She tastes like cigarettes. Let's go to the next one here. Neil McCauley says, "Hey, John, I'm meeting Ron Perlman at Comic-Con tomorrow. Pretty stoked. What's the last con you attended, and who's your favorite person to meet?" Oh, man. I've only been to like 3 or 4. I've been to MegaCon. I've never been to Comic-Con. But at the MegaCons, I did go up to, and I have a Flick Trip video. Let's see. But anyway, the coolest con I went to was MegaCon, and I did some panels a couple years ago. And but before that, I went to one and I saw Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. And I have a Flick Trip video on this channel if you want to check it out. I think it's called I Met the Real Life Batman or something like that. But it's a cool Flick Trip video. And Kevin Conroy was just sitting at a table. No one was around him. There were no lines. And the thing about doing Comic-Con meet and greets, it does feel sort of disingenuous because you're supposed to pay these people for their time and go up there and take a picture and, "Hi, how you doing?" And that's the extent of the conversation. But I walked up to him and I didn't. I wasn't planning. I just wanted to say hi. You know, that's it. I didn't want to pay $40 to do it. But I ended up getting a picture with him because, hey, it's the voice of Batman, the voice of my childhood from the Batman animated series. And let me see if I can find the picture. I'll show it to you. Flick pick Kevin Conroy. Let's see if Google will not let. Ooh, Google, are you gonna let me down? Okay, I can find the thumbnail for the video, so I guess that's good enough. But yeah, here's hang on.
Imagine being able to build.
I'll just show you the video. How's that? There's the opening of it. And I met a lot of cool fans at this as well. Where the hell's the picture of Kevin Conroy? Oh, here he is. Yeah, so I met Kevin Conroy right there. That's when he was sort of looking a little ill, and he passed away a couple years after this, which sort of sucks. But yeah, that was pretty cool to meet Kevin Conroy. So that was one of the cooler experiences. I did see. Oh gosh, I saw Apollo Creed. Carl Weathers. Sorry, I could not remember his name. I saw Carl Weathers, and I walked right by him, and I didn't notice it was Carl Weathers until he walked by me. And he looked a little bit disheveled, like he was trying to get somewhere, and I didn't want to bother him. But dude, I would have loved to have done the Predator handshake with him. What's the matter? Pushing too many pencils? And then he's like, yeah, that's fine, man. Pay me $70 for the picture. And I would have happily. But that's my experience. I don't really go up to actually, you know what? I have one cool picture. It's back there behind my couch. We took it at a MegaCon a couple years ago. MegaCon. Here it is. God, I love Google. It's working so well for me. Okay, here it is. I'll show you this one. Here's a picture I took a couple years ago with some other YouTubers you might know of. You got Sean Chandler over there. You got Cody Leach. But then you have the entire cast of Scream and the Fonz from Happy Days right there. And then there's me and Austin Burke right there. So that was one of the cooler photos I've ever taken at a con. I don't think I've topped this one, if you will. So that was a pretty cool experience. And the fact that I'm standing beside the Fonz from Happy Days right there, like Henry Winkler, to me, that was surreal. Now, he does come up to my nipples in height. He is a very small man, but a very nice and gentle man. But yeah, that was a good time. So there's that. All right, let's get back to your questions here. Bruce Cook says, geez, John, how old were you at MegaCon in 2019? I don't know. That was 6 years ago. So 7, 8, 32. I was 32. Time flies. All right, the next one comes from Tyler, who says, oh, already answered that. Already answered this. Okay, sorry. Our InHomes25 says, John, any updates on the new side hustle job you might be embarking on? Yeah, I'm still going through training to do it, and it's not necessarily a passion of mine, but I would like something one day if YouTube ceased to exist, or maybe one day I get tired of hearing my own voice on the internet. Now, keep in mind, this is years down the road. Maybe when I'm old and withered, I need a backup plan. Just putting it out there. But it's coming along. I do have to get licensed to do this job, and it is very different than what I do on YouTube. But it's coming along. I'm in the process of doing it. Slowly but surely, it's getting there. But I've sort of been trying to focus on YouTube more. And the thing about it is, when you do YouTube and then you do a job that's completely different than YouTube, where you don't use much creativity, but it's sort of just like a job where you focus on things and meet with people, and it's more that realm. It's so hard to turn one off and the other on. It's very night and day. So, but it's coming along just fine. But thanks for asking, man. Your name here says, hey, John, aside from Jurassic World Afterbirth, what other movie... Oh, I answered this already. Sorry. Clark Ingleton says, American Animals 2018, Detroit 2017, and Banshees of an Irishman 2022 are must-sees. I have watched you since 2015 and guarantee you'll like them. Have I seen American Animals? That sounds really familiar. American Animals 2018. Okay, it's coming up with pictures of dogs. That's probably not it. Yeah, no, I have not watched this. So I have not seen any of those movies. And Detroit 2017, I don't think I've seen that either. So, yeah, man, I'll check them out. I'll add them to the list. So, but thanks for the recommendations. I do want to watch American Animals. That kind of looks like a movie I could watch at night. Did you guys like American Animals? Do you agree with these recommendations? Let me know. But I'll look into them. All right, the next one comes from Elliot Cecil, who says, Superman was trash. He got his ass kicked in every fight and needed saving in every fight. Plus, it ruined the origin with his parents being evil. Oops. That's not a plot. That does not spoil anything, I promise you. But then again, I have a theory on that I think will change in the next movie. But anyway, when it comes to Superman getting his ass kicked a lot, I get where they're coming from because it makes him feel more vulnerable and more relatable. But at the same time, when you just watch Superman get beat up all the time, especially from some like lesser foes that should not even stand a chance, I thought it became a bit tedious to watch that. Like, I get if someone wins a fight with Superman or he starts losing a battle, that does make it interesting, and I don't mind seeing Superman get his ass kicked along the way, but just for like 92% of the movie, it's just like he cannot do anything right. It's like you're Superman. Come on, man. Suck this shit up and wipe off the dirt and go do some Superman shit. What are you doing? Just use your heat vision. But then again, he has a whole moral dilemma that he's dealing with, so I did think they needed to show Superman just being a bit more super a few times throughout the movie to balance it, but I do agree with you. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, is there any actor more fearless and transformative than Christian Bale? Every role he takes on feels like a complete transformation you can't look away from, and even when he's in a B movie hunting dragons set in post-apocalyptic Britain. So you're talking about Reign of Fire. Now, fun story when it comes to Reign of Fire. I remember vividly a teaser trailer for Reign of Fire where you have a young boy and he goes down a dark alleyway and like he walks into this dark environment, and until you see the dragon fire open up on the screen, part of me thought it was going to be like a Batman movie. I did. And this was before Batman Begins was ever announced or ever mentioned. I thought that was going to be a Batman movie. I know that's weird. Look up that teaser trailer sometime. But anyway, I agree. Christian Bale can go from being an anorexic guy who weighs 97 pounds to becoming super buff for Batman Begins, and then gaining an extra 60 pounds to play Dick Cheney in a political satire film. It's bizarre. I don't know how the man's still alive. But I remember reading about him he wanted to gain weight to play the role of Batman in Batman Begins, and he was putting on a little too much weight. And he talked about like eating ice cream and gaining weight. And Christopher Nolan looked at him one day and he's like, you just look too big for the role. Like, I don't think you're going to fit in the suit. So then he had to cut some of the weight off. So, hey, he's a master of his craft. That's why I like Christian Bale quite a bit. The next one comes from Elliot Cecil, who says, and Luthor was lame. All he did was get mad and stay in a computer room.
I hate Superman because he's not a human.
Yeah, I agree. He kind of did. His plot was stupid. But when he was talking and doing things, it gave me like, for lack of a better comparison, he gave me like Nicolas Cage vibes. Like, I liked how over the top he was. He's just playing Russian roulette with people with a gun. Like, he doesn't care. He's a complete sociopath. And I sort of appreciated that about him in the movie. All right. They got we got a question here from a longtime viewer, the movie guy. How's it going, the movie guy? Here it goes. Haven't watched Superman yet, but I did watch the 05 and 07 Fantastic Four movies yesterday. '05 will always be great to me. I feel I was a bit harsh on the '07 Fantastic Four back in the day. It's a dumb, fun movie, and Chris Evans really did play a good Johnny Storm. It's odd that we don't appreciate the things until later they play other characters and we go, yeah, he did have some charisma. And hey, if for nothing else, the original Fantastic Four movies, not the original from 1994, which was an abomination against humanity and simply only made to retain the rights to Fantastic Four. It was made for like $1 million, but it looks like a high school movie that you would make with your friends in your backyard. But anyway, both of those original Fantastic Four movies were far superior than Fantastic Four 4-stick that we got in 2014 or 2015, where Doctor Doom looked like a dude wrapped in trash bags that were melted to his skin. And the Thing in that movie looked like a piece of crispy chicken from Popeyes. All right, so... But when it comes to those Fantastic Four movies from, what was it, 05, 07... I sort of always had a guilty pleasure love for Rise of the Silver Surfer. Now, is Galactus a giant storm cloud? Yes. But Silver Surfer looks like Silver Surfer in that movie. Norrin Radd looked pretty badass. And I liked everything with Silver Surfer. The plot and everything else was sort of forgettable, but it was okay. It was okay. And the earlier version of that movie I thought was okay as well. You know, they're a bit underwhelming, but they're not the worst comic book movies that have ever existed. But with all that said, I am definitely looking forward to the upcoming Fantastic Four movie coming out in a couple of weeks. And I wish it would have arrived in time because I would have shown it to you guys, but it's in the mail. It should arrive tomorrow. I'm getting the giant Galactus popcorn bucket hopefully tomorrow. And I just want to show you guys the best piece of head you're ever going to get. So at some point I'll share that with you guys, but... what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. But I'm glad you enjoyed the movies, man. They're guilty pleasures. I think anyone can enjoy them on a rainy day. And by the way, the movie guy, thank you for the question. And here's your party popper. 3, 2, 1. There you go. You know what? I'm going to give you another one. Are you ready for it? You get another party popper. I'm doing another spin. There it is. So thanks for the questions, the movie guy. Always appreciated. All right, let's go. I got so much. Look how much shit I clean this up for 20 minutes after each live show. But that's okay. It's okay. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Adrian Boyle, who says, what would be the Batman movie you'd show to a person who knows nothing about Batman? Well, clearly I would show them Batman and Robin. And then they would think I had I don't want to say it. They would think I had bad taste in movies. But I bet, no, it's really good. But I feel like if I'm telling you this right now. If you took the new generation of younger kids, like TikTok kids, and you showed them Batman and Robin, and like you just like told them this was a good movie, this is good, I think they would truly grow up believing that was a good Batman movie, and that would be like their fundamental Batman movie. But anyway, if I had to pick one, that's a tough question because like they all have some weird zany shit that goes down in them. Like the original Tim Burton Batman movies, like there's some Prince music playing, and then the second movie there's some bizarre stuff that happens. I think I might go with Batman Begins. I think I would probably show someone Batman Begins. Because I think that has a slight bit more of a fantastical approach than The Dark Knight, and it does feel a little more Batman-y than The Dark Knight at times, so I think I'd go with Batman Begins. I'm going to go with that. Or I would go with Batman 1989. But I think Batman Begins would be the majority of most people's preferences if they've never seen a Batman movie. I don't know. What do you guys think? All right. The next one comes from Carter Lovejoy says in 3D. You know what? Next time I go see Superman, I'm going to see it in 3D. It's in 3D, right? Or am I making that up? It should be. It looks like a 3D movie. It looks like a gimmicky 3D movie, especially when he's like flying at the camera and then he punches the guy in the face and his teeth come out slow-mo. But I would see it in 3D if I had to go watch it again. Bruce Cook says, "Hey, John, some advice. Should I go see Superman at the theater or just wait until it hits cable channels?" Bruce, that all depends on personal preference. If you have some free movie tickets sitting around, go check it out. I would say this. If you want to turn off your brain and have an excuse to eat some popcorn, I think this will be a vivid, fun experience for your eyeballs to immerse upon. That would be my recommendation for you. And if you're looking forward to it, definitely check it out. But it's one of those movies that I would recommend, but especially if you have kids or if you want to take like, I don't know, whatever. I think it's definitely a family-friendly movie. I'm going to say go check it out in the theater. Just know it's going to be very flawed. And I think if you go in with that mindset, you'll enjoy it. It's exactly the movie the trailers made it to be, in my opinion. All right, let's go to the next one here. Alejandro says, Superman movie, people either hated or love it. Superman movie, people either hated or love it. They can't be normal people like me and you. They saw it as a solid B movie. I think I still prefer Man of Steel as a superhero movie, but as a Superman movie, this was better, just had to be more serious a bit. I get that it might focus on Superman a little more than Man of Steel, but then again, I almost would disagree with that. I think Man of Steel almost focuses more on Superman coming to terms with who he is, because also you get the origin story in Man of Steel. You get the opening takes place on Krypton for 20 minutes. And then you go through the process of him becoming Superman and learning to fly. In this new Superman movie, it just opens up. The text says Superman has been known as Superman for 3 years, and it dives right into the action. And by dives right into the action, I mean him getting his ass kicked. But so I don't know if I'd agree with that. Andrew says, The Dark Knight is a great Batman movie. Yes, but if someone's never seen a Batman movie, no Batman movie whatsoever, I don't know. I think you would start with Batman Begins. I really do. Because that would sell them on wanting to get into The Dark Knight. You could start with The Dark Knight. I think that would be fair. I think it really depends on someone's personal preference, right? Like, if I knew someone that likes heist movies and a bit more grounded movie, and they're not into the superhero genre, but I had to show them a Batman movie, I think The Dark Knight would be the appropriate choice, because it sort of feels like a heist movie, but with Batman in it. It sort of feels like a crime drama. And the first Batman Begins feels a little more fantastical and bizarre at times. So I guess it depends on the person. Carter Lovejoy says, Adam West is my favorite, followed by Keaton. Robin, we must go out there. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. Poison Ivy? I liked Adam West as Batman. Bruce Cook says, I'd show them Tim Burton's and then Batman Begins and then ask the first-time viewer which one they liked better. That would be interesting. It would. I mean, there's some people who like the gothic weird stuff, and they definitely would probably prefer Tim Burton and Prince music. Part of me would go with that as well. Dustin Rich says, have you ever seen the unreleased Fantastic Four from the 1990s? Yes, I have. I think you can watch it on YouTube right now, or you used to be able to, but I have seen it. I downloaded it once and watched most of it or part of it. It's pretty shitty. It's just shit. The next one comes from Johnny Storm in that as the Human Torch. When he's flying around, he just looks like a dude that just they did some bad green screen effect on. He's just let's look this up. Watch. Fantastic Four 1994 Human Torch. It's so stupid. I can't find it now. Let's see. Is this it? Oh, this is the trailer. Let's see. Try not to get a copyright strike from this. Let's open this up. Let's watch the trailer of Fantastic Four together, shall we? Here we go. This is the 1994 Fantastic Four movie. Now, this is the logo. They spent all their money on that. Oh, here's the oh my god. Oh my god. Look at that shit. Wait. Okay, look at this. Okay, there's Sue Storm, Invisible Lady, with a shitty green screen effect. And then oh god. All right. Here it is. This is what I'm talking about. That's the Human Torch. Dude, literally, look at that. That's the human... Look at that. Actually, it doesn't look as bad as I remember, I'll be honest with you. Dr. Doom kind of looks like he's wearing a Party City Halloween mask there. Yeah, but just look at this. Look at this close-up shot. Look at that, man. Look at that. That looks like a dinosaur's ball sack. Doesn't it? Ugh. Yeah, pretty bad. So that's Fantastic Four, 1994. And I hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. All right. Let's go to the next one here. The next one comes from... Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on the questions. Night King 01 says, John, do you ever want to see Parasite... Do you ever want to see Parasite in Superman? I don't know how they are going to do this tone since he essentially is a body horror character who turns into a living battery sucking the energy out of people. I could see them doing that, but they sort of have a character in the new Superman movie that's... I wouldn't say it's exactly the same, but it's sort of similar. Where, like... I don't know. It kind of feels like the same character interchangeable, if you will. It feels like this character could do the same thing that character does. I don't know much about the character Parasite. I'm sorry. I'm not an expert when it comes to Superman comic books by any means. So, maybe. Listen, I want to see Doomsday come back in a Superman movie. Now, maybe that could work in the next solo outing with Superman, because I think that would be like a really good antagonist for him to go up against that could have a physical threat. And maybe Lex Luthor's pulling the string somehow there. That would be fine as well. But I think that's what we'll probably see next. Or at least I would like to see. Okay, the next one comes from... Oh, come on, man. All right, here we go. Carter Lovejoy. How's it going, Carter? Carter says, have you gotten any Criterion 4Ks from the 50% off sale at Barnes & Noble? Right now is the best time to get the Dazed and Confused 4K is right now. Also on sale on Amazon and Criterion's website. You know, I've been trying to conserve my funds lately, and I do get some early review copies of movies. But fun story. It's funny you just said that, man, because my wife had never seen Dazed and Confused, and we watched it on streaming. I know, but it just made sense for the time that we did it. But she liked it, and we just watched it like 2 nights ago, and I still love that movie quite a bit. It's the ultimate hangout movie. I wish I was like a teenager in the 1970s so I could just drive around as a senior and paddle kids. Now that would be considered like a hate crime or something. I don't know. But anyway, speaking of physical media, I did get this in the mail recently. It's Sinners on 4K. Now, I quite enjoyed this movie. This might be one of my favorite movies of 2025. Yeah, it's 20. I forgot what year it was. But I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. And I love that it's actually shot on film. It looks like a real movie. And it does have some From Dusk Till Dawn vibes. especially during the third act. But honestly, my favorite parts of this film are the first two acts. Now, the third act's great, but I sort of like before the vampires become a thing. I know that's weird, but I like the time period. I like it takes place during Prohibition. Now, I have not watched the 4K yet. I'm sort of savoring the flavor because I have not watched this since the theater. And I can't wait to check it out on 4K and maybe check out some of the special features on it as well, just to see some of the behind the scenes and the making of it. But I enjoyed this quite a bit. So, yeah. Are you guys going to pick up Sinners on 4K? It's out now. So, I forgot the studio that put this. Is this Warner Bros? Is this Warner Brothers? This is Warner Brothers, right? Why does it not say on the... It's Warner Brothers, right? Am I crazy? There's not a logo on it saying who made this. Anyway, I think it's a Warner Brothers movie. But really enjoyed it. Okay. Yeah, you guys picking up Sinners? Let me know. Blu-ray Addict says there's a Jimmy Olsen TV show that's in the works. Who the fuck would want to watch a Jimmy Olsen TV show? Especially this interpretation of Jimmy Olsen. I'm sorry, I do not need to see him in a TV series, let alone I don't even want to see him in another Superman movie. No, that's not the Steelbook. It's just the normal Blu-ray. Nothing special about it. Still in the plastic. I don't open it up until it's time to watch it. Yeah, it is Warner Bros. But the funny thing is, man, they don't have a logo on the movie. Like, I don't see a Warner Bros. Logo anywhere on this. Oh, it does say it, though, right there. I guess I should learn how to read. But anyway, all right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from... Scroll up a few questions here. Here we go. Skylar Wheelock, back at it again, says, Peacemaker turning into a villain was a great twist. I love the concept of a guy willing to kill anyone to keep the peace, even if it's his friends. He'd be a top villain if he died because someone this morally gray shouldn't be sympathized with. I like the gray zone of characters. I think that's where everyone should exist. It's interesting to me. They can go either way. They're more dynamic. That's my favorite type of characters. But anyway, I'll save that for a spoiler review. But anyway, yeah, speaking of Peacemaker. All right. The next one comes from Sal, who says... While I did like Superman, I'm glad James Gunn is not writing, directing Supergirl or the other DCU films that are in production right now. And because he's not making them, I'm more excited. You know, yeah, me too. I'm genuinely curious to see what the tone of all these different DC movies are going to be, or if they share a similar tone, or if they're all sort of their own entity that are somewhat interconnected. And I'm hoping they all have their own tones. I really do. But then again, it might feel a little bit jarring if you put this version of Superman with some dark, brooding Batman. But then again, hey, it could work. I don't know. But I am curious to see what the next DC movie is like. I'm hoping it's a little tonally subdued compared to what we got with Superman. Because let's be honest, this kind of hyperbolic stuff does work well with Superman and the comedic zaniness, but don't do this for every DC movie, please. And by the way, Sal, thanks for the question. You get a party popper. Thanks. All right, let's go to the next one. Ooh, I still have more party poppers, so I still have actually I have a whole closet full of them still ready to go. But I'm going to get a few out and ready just in case. All right, the next one comes from Fran, who says, Snyder fan, and this is the best Superman. Hey, man, it's all subjective. I won't tell you you're wrong. And I see where you're coming from. I think if you're looking for a direct comic book adaptation of Superman from the Silver Age of comics, yeah, this is like a fair shake at that. It's definitely more consistent than something like the Man of Steel was, right? In comparison. So, I mean, technically speaking, you're not wrong. It's all subjective, but I like movies that have more of an emotional impact. And I think that was the detriment of this new Superman movie. But hey, if I was like a 10-year-old kid and I wanted to watch a Superman movie, I would probably prefer this new Superman movie over Man of Steel. I honestly would. The movie guy back at it again says, do you think Robert Pattinson isn't respected enough as an actor because he played in Twilight? I think he's a great actor with great range. I'm excited to see him in the upcoming Dune Messiah film. I think Robert Pattinson's Twilight phase has been put to rest and stabbed in the heart with a stake. And he's no longer sparkling under the sunlight. He's now in a cape and cowl in the shadows lurking in Gotham City. And like now we think of Robert Pattinson as Batman. Isn't that weird? I just thought of him as like a douchebag in these shitty Twilight movies. And then I realized that like this guy's a real good actor. And then I watched movies like Good Time. And I was like, wow, this is like, okay, I kind of like this guy. And Good Time's a great movie if you've never seen it. But anyway, I'm excited to see Robert Pattinson in Dune Messiah. I don't know who he's playing. I don't know anything about the movie. I don't know a lot about Dune other than like the movies that I've seen. But I'm looking forward to it. But what I'm looking forward to even more than that is at some point in life, we will get another Batman sequel, The Batman 2. Supposedly it's supposed to come out like 2027, 2028 or something. So who knows? But I just give it to me now. I've been waiting 5 years for this sequel. But nevertheless, the movie guy, thank you for the question. And I'm going to give you a party popper. There you go. Oh, that was a loud party popper. But thanks for the question. Thank you so much. The Night King 01 back here again says, I have a random fact about the 1990s Fantastic Four film. The guy that plays the Thing in that film is the guy that gets his head crushed in a vice. Does he get his head crushed in a vice in the Fantastic Four movie or another movie? Interesting. Can you elaborate? Just elaborate on that in the normal chat. Let me know. Ozzy Perez says, have you seen The Brutalist? If so, any thoughts? Okay, here's my take on The Brutalist. And by the way, if you guys are members in the normal chat, please chime in now. I'm trying to answer as many normal questions in the normal chat. I've started to watch The Brutalist 4 times. And I'm probably like 35 minutes into the movie. But here's what I keep doing. I keep watching it late at night when I can't find anything else to watch. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch The Brutalist. I've been meaning to watch this because it's sort of like the kind of movies I like. But like I'm 20 minutes into it or 30 minutes into it and I get it, but it's not exactly something like that's capturing my attention. And don't get me wrong, I love a good slow burn. I do. But I do want to finish it at some point. It's not on the top of the priority list right now. And if you've seen The Brutalist, did you love it? Did you think it was like a profound, mind-blowing movie that will stick with you? Or did you think it was sort of like Oscar bait that overstayed its welcome and it was way too long and you just like didn't really care about it? Let me know. I'm curious. Bruce Cook says, no, John. Taylor Lautner is the shitty actor from the Twilight movies. Oh, I agree with you. He's not a very good actor. Sal says, hey, John, by the way, they show the studio logo on the spine of the slipcover for Sinners and for any physical media release. You know what? You're right. You're right. Come on. Focus. There it is. You're right. They do show it, but they don't show it anywhere else back here. You think it would be back here. But yeah, you're right. It is on the spine. So thanks for pointing that out. Thank you. I'm going to give you a party popper just for stating that. There you go. Thanks, man. All right, the next one comes from Night King 01. I meant to say the guy that played the Thing is the guy from Casino that gets his head crushed in a vice by Joe Pesci. My bad, ran out of characters. Okay, I got it. Yeah, I vividly remember that scene. Put his head in the vice. And they're cheating at blackjack. That's a great scene. Good stuff. Could you imagine having your head put in a vice? There's some things in life I do not want to experience. Being eaten alive by a shark and having my head in a vice is one of them. And ending up in the pawn shop basement from Pulp Fiction. That's another place I don't ever want to end up. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Dustin Rich wants me to do an impression of Mark Wahlberg talking to the pigeon lady. That's the point in the live shows where you know it's time to go. Well, I've been thinking a lot about it, and I come to the conclusion you smell like bird shit, and you need to get the fuck away from me. How about I take this turtle dove and stab you in the throat? Hey, what are you doing over there? You taking a bath or something? Hey, is that bird shit or something? That's it. That's all I got. All right. Christian says Superman movie just feels like a Marvel movie. So I'm glad you brought that up. I think I talked about this earlier, but I say so much stuff in the live stream I can't remember what I've said. I'll say this. You're right. Superman does sort of feel like a Marvel movie, but I would say it feels even more comic booky than a Marvel movie. It feels like a modern day Marvel movie that would fit side by side with something like Thor Ragnarok or Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It could exist in there. And even maybe something like Thor Ragnarok, which I enjoy, which I think balances comedy and like drama a little bit better. But you're right. It feels like that equivalent of a Marvel movie. But here's the thing. I cut this out of my review, and I'm mad I did it, but it felt like it was way too long. In my review, I originally said this. I said, this is more comedic and over the top than early Marvel movies, because when you go back to the early solo origin movies from Marvel, yeah, they were sort of comic booky, but they ultimately felt like real movies that took these characters serious, and they knew when to stop and be dramatic and then also sort of comic booky at the same time. And I much prefer that balance and that tone. So I would say it's more zany than a Marvel movie. Maybe not more zany than Thor Love and Thunder, but... Balloon Raccoon says, John, I noticed you look like the buff guy in Twilight. You know what? I heard that. What is his name? Starts with an A or something. What's his name? Whatever. When I used to work out a lot and I was like 20 pounds heavier with more muscle and I had less of a neck, I heard that a lot actually. But hey, I'll take the compliment. If it's a compliment. If it's not, I'm still going to take it as a compliment. So thank you for that. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from... I'm going to answer a few more questions. And if you guys are in the chat right now, chime in with questions or comments, whatever you guys want to say. I'm trying to read as many normal questions in the normal chat as I possibly can right now. Pattinson is absolutely cooking in Hollywood. While Mickey 17 was an awful film, his performance was great in it, and he's been in Boy and the Heron and will be in Dune 3 and The Odyssey. Huge W's. Yeah, man, for sure. Dude, I cannot wait for The Odyssey. By the way, I have not seen the teaser trailer for The Odyssey yet. Now, you have to go watch Jurassic World Afterbirth to watch that or to watch the teaser trailer, and I just can't force myself to do it. Maybe at some point I will. My plan was to do this. I have the Regal Movie Pass, and what I was going to do, the next movie I go see, was I was going to go see that movie and pay for it, but I was just going to sit in on the trailers for like Jurassic World and then get up and go watch the movie I actually want to watch. But I have not seen the teaser yet. But apparently not a lot happens in it either, so... Bruce Cook says, John, how's your right eye? It's always blurry. Everything's blurry in my right eye. It's a genetic thing. Nothing I can do about it. So It's sort of depressing and debilitating at the same time, but you know what? I just focus with my left eye a little bit more, and now life is much clearer than it ever has been. But it's all right, man. But thanks for asking. Yeah, I have a issue with my right eye, if you guys didn't know. I have like a very bad stigmatism and a misshapen cornea, so all kinds of crazy stuff going on over there. Blu-ray Addict says, do you think raunchy R-rated comedies will ever make a comeback? I hope they will, and I think they should, because at this point, why are we afraid to offend people? Like, it's good to offend certain people with certain movies. That means you actually said something. So I miss that. So hopefully one day, I think we went through this phase after COVID where everyone was just hypersensitive. They were stuck in their houses and people wanted attention. And typically people in social media that complain the most, they just want attention. They want to be accepted. They want to be heard. And it's like a cult-like mentality where you jump on this bandwagon of hating everything. And it's just like, oh, we all hate the same thing. Aren't we accepted together as a family? And it's like the most unhealthy mentality that's ever existed. So at some point, I think cinema will start offending people again. And by offending people, I think we will get back to R-rated comedies that are actually funny than this watered-down baby food regurgitated nothingness that we're being inundated with nowadays from Hollywood. So yes, I do think we'll get there. All right, let's go to the next one here. But I hope so, man. I would just like to see another American Pie movie. Is that asking for too much? Someone said I looked like Bella. I'll take it. Deepest, grimiest, greatest line ever. I don't know. Don't just look at it. Eat it. I don't know. There's probably a much more grimier line from a movie I'm not thinking of. Shut your mouth before I fuck it. I don't know. Now I just lost monetization on this stream. There it is. Dustin Rich says, I have the next pay-per-view fight idea, Nolte versus Busey in an electrified cage match. I'd watch that. And speaking of pay-per-views and matches, I can't wait to watch Saturday night's main event tomorrow with Goldberg in his retirement match. The dude looks like he's going to have a heart attack cutting a promo, so I cannot imagine him wrestling right now, but I can't wait to see it. Tony Youthful says, Naked Gun reboot and possibly Spaceballs 2 might mean we're back in terms of comedy and not being afraid to offend people. Yeah, but the thing about those movies are they're sort of like parody movies, and those are always sort of lighthearted in tone, so I'm looking for something raunchy. You know, I want teenage raunchiness mayhem. That's what I want. I'd take another Superbad at this point, which wasn't all that offensive, to be honest. John, let's get the tough question here already. Pro or anti undies on Superman costume? I think the undies for this interpretation, especially with this tone, I think they work for Superman. I really do. Like, you see them for the first couple scenes and you forget they exist. I was fine with it. And the logic behind why he's wearing underwear, I think is like solid logic for this version of Superman, who's like this Boy Scout, naive, almost childlike guy. He doesn't want to scare kids. So he's like, hey, I wear underwear like pro wrestlers. Aren't I goofy and funny? I think there's something to be said there. And I think I like that. Now, if someone like Henry Cavill wore underwear in The Man of Steel, well, that would just be stupid. But in this new Superman movie, everything's stupid. So it's okay. So you can get away with it. Yeah, Superbad's probably my favorite comedy of the last 20 years. And by the way, when my wife came over for the first time, on our first date. And by date, I meant, hey, do you want to come over to my house and watch Superbad and drink? And that's what we did. Superbad is the movie we watched. So Bruce Cook says, considering the way modern reviewers dump on American Pie as a misogynistic monstrosity, yes, I think you are asking too much, unfortunately. Yeah, you're right. You couldn't really make an American Psycho anymore. Someone would be offended by it. But the people that get offended by it, that's not the right demographic for the film. Thus, their opinion is invalid. Thus, why do we care? Because they're never going to pay money to see the movie in the first place. But for someone like me, it speaks to my soul, and I will praise it to the heavens. And that feels like real cinema. And I want more of that. And that's why I liked the movie Magazine Dreams. Like, Magazine Dreams is one of those movies that is unhinged and sort of dark and not for everybody. It's unsettling and weird. And, like, I liked Magazine Dreams. And it's technically a 2025 movie, right? I know it was made a couple years before that, but it's in my top 10 of the year. All right, let's go to the next question here. And the next question comes from Matthew D. And Matthew says, hey, John, have you ever seen American Psycho 2 starring Mila Kunis? Just curious because I know you love the first one, and I've been a long-time subscriber to your channel. Well, that's a great question, Matthew. And the answer to that is I watched it once late at night when I was half conscious, probably back in like 2013 or 2014 or whatever. And the truth is I remember nothing about the movie. And I almost want to go back and revisit it, but I don't feel like doing it. So that's one of those things. I need to go back and revisit it, but I just remember in the first 10 minutes, it took everything in my being not to shut it off. But I should go back and check it out again. I really should. And I'm still waiting on that new American Psycho remake. At one point, Austin Butler was attached, but now he's not, which makes me very happy. And now supposedly Arnold Schwarzenegger's son is maybe in the running for the role, which I'd actually be okay with that. I think he was in White Lotus, which I've never seen, but a lot of people have told me to watch it. So, but yeah, man, thanks for the question, Matthew. And I will eventually go back and rewatch it just for you. So here's your party popper. Don't just look at it, eat it. All right. Laughingstock Media says, I never understood the obsession with Superman's underwear. It's just a part of the costume. There are way more ridiculous costumes out there. What's more ridiculous than a dude wearing red underwear right now in modern day cinema? What costume is more ridiculous? You let me know that down below. I'm genuinely asking. Bruce Cook says American Psycho 2 was a William Shatner paycheck movie. I mean, everything's been a William Shatner paycheck since 1968. All right. Ozzy Perez says, don't forget Tropic Thunder, a.k.a. the most epic comedy. Not sure anything can top it. You know what? That is a good one. And the simple reason why I don't think we're ever going to get another Tropic Thunder movie is simply because of this right here. That's Robert Downey Jr. You just can't get away with stuff like that nowadays. But can I tell you guys a quick story relating to Robert Downey Jr. in blackface, if you will? And I like Tropic Thunder. It's been a while since I've seen it, though, but I've always liked it. And plus, Tom Cruise in that movie is great. But when it comes to this, the first time I saw the trailer for Tropic Thunder, I did not know that was Robert Downey Jr. in blackface. I did not know it. I thought it was a black actor. I was like, I don't know who that is, but I can't pinpoint it. So there's that. All right. I'm not proud to say that, though. All right, we got one here from the movie guy back again who says, Chris Evans as Johnny Storm are so Steve Rogers. I know his Captain America got a full story, but I think I like him as the Human Torch better. I've never once heard anyone other than you say that, movie guy. I've never once heard anyone say they like the Chris Evans as excuse me, as the Human Torch more than Captain America. Now, for me, I think he embodies Steve Rogers' Captain America. But I do think he can play a cocky, arrogant guy. And I did like his cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine as Johnny Storm. I thought that was a nice surprise. But I think I'm going to go with Chris Evans as Captain America. But hey, I respect your opinion. I do. And plus, in the one movie, he had like a buzz cut. In the second movie, I don't know. I'm going to go with Steve Rogers. But anyway, thanks for the question. And you get a party popper. I'm going to do something a little crazy here. A little crazy with this party popper. I'm sorry, that just felt necessary. I'm sorry. How's that for being offensive? All right. Let's go to the next question here. And by the way, thanks to everybody still watching. This has been a very, very long live stream. We've been talking for what feels like 7 hours at this point. Okay. The next question comes from... let's see. Back up a few here. Okay. Dustin Rich says, is it just me or does the main character from Nightcrawler seem like he's on the spectrum? Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's definitely on the spectrum to some degree because he's obsessed. Like, and that's sort of a form of like autism. Slightly, you're super obsessed with something, and you hyper focus on it. So absolutely, he is to some degree, and I like it. And I also think everyone is on the spectrum to some degree, myself included. Kitsch says, what did I miss? A lot. But the great thing is you can scroll back and watch it all again. Laughingstock Media says, I've had too much Irish coffee tonight to give you a good answer. Well, hey, that's fine by me, man. Enjoy that Irish coffee. I like Irish bourbon. It's really good. All right, let me just answer. I'm going to answer like one more question. Let's see what we got. And by the way, before I go, just to give another mention to myself, before I go, if you guys want to give the live stream a like, it does help that stupid YouTube algorithm. So let's stick it to Google, that billion-dollar corporation, and tell them you're not afraid anymore. So if you want to give the live stream a like, very much appreciated. And like I said earlier, I do... Oh, shit. Did I fuck this up? Okay. I think we're okay. Are we still good? Did I push a button? Did I push the wrong button? I don't know. Can you guys still see me? Something messed up over here. Anyway, if you guys want to... Yeah, I think it's good. I think we're good. But anyway, I posted a brand new Flick Trip last week, going to see Jurassic World Afterbirth in Detroit. Definitely check out that Flick Trip video. I posted a review of Superman, the brand new movie. I posted that earlier today if you want some more insights on the movie. So definitely check out those videos over on the FlickPick channel. And on this channel, if you guys are YouTube members, I posted a special vlog video just for you guys, just talking about some random stuff. That's typically what I do in those videos. So if you want to watch that, that is on the members only section on my channel. So if you guys are members, you should be able to see that video. So, and if you guys are members, thank you so much. It does mean a lot. And if you're not, what are you waiting on? You guys get cool ass emojis and special extra videos. But if you just want to watch my stupid face, that's fine by me as well. Dustin Rich says, play the intro to TJ Hooker right now, John. It's pure 80s. If I play it, I'll get a copyright claim. I can't. Okay, you can still see me. Yeah, I pushed a button and my stream like flickered out for a second. Really weird. Okay, we got another question here, and it comes from... The Movie Guy, once again. Movie Guy, thank you so much. You're too good to me. The Movie Guy says, a good raunchy comedy that doesn't get talked about enough is The Goods. Live hard, sell hard. Have a good night, John. See you next week. What is this? The Goods? I think I've seen this. Yeah, with Jeremy Piven. I watched part of this once. I vaguely remember it. I don't think it was that great. It has a 5.7 on IMDb and a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. But I don't really remember much about it. I do think I watched it, though. Jeremy Piven is many things, but he is best known for his extraordinary salesman. When his car dealership is... Okay. This sort of reminds me of the... what's that car dealership movie with Kurt Russell in it? Is it called like Cadillac Man or whatever it's called? I don't know. I don't remember. But anyway, thank you, movie guy, for the recommendation to the Jeremy Piven movie from 2009. And you do get... Do I have another party popper? We literally went through all of the party poppers I had. I don't leave people hanging. I have more party poppers. Hang on. There you go. All right. All right. As always, guys, I think I'm going to wrap up the live show there. Not only did we run out of party poppers, but I've ran out of stamina and energy, and my caffeinated beverage is now empty. So as always, yeah, Bruce Cook says used cars. That's what I was thinking of. Yes, used cars. You guys got it. As always, guys, I want to say thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out for the last couple hours or 3 hours. It's been a very long live show. But as always, I will see you guys next Friday with another live show, so look out for that. And thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. And if you guys go see Superman, well, make sure you go check out my Superman review and comment down below and let me know what you thought about the movie. I am curious to know. So take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Good night.